All right, this video is going to be an introduction to the U.S. Constitution. First off, we need to talk about what a constitution is and why we need one, why it's important that we have a written one. So the first thing is, what is a constitution? And a constitution is a set of rules that guides how a country or state or other political organization works. And it's really important to have a written one. So that the rules don't change, that our government isn't making this stuff up as they go along, that we have a series of rules that they have to follow, and this is the big part of it, to protect the people's liberties and the people's freedoms. We want to limit the power of government to just those things that are actually written in the Constitution. So we're going to look at the structure of our Constitution, and it has 7 articles. 7 articles, an article is, I hate to call it a section, but it's each one of the 7 articles deals with a different topic, a general subject. And so an article is just a section of the Constitution, and each one of the 7 is devoted to a different subject matter. Each article then can be broken down into subsections. The first subsection under the article itself is called a section. And then some of the sections are broken up into clauses. And so we'll do some work with that in the Constitution. So the first 3 articles of the Constitution are all about the 3 branches of government. So we have Article 1, which is all about the legislative branch. We call our legislative branch in the United States Congress. And then Congress is made up of 2 houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate. And then our legislative branch is responsible for making the laws. So legislative Article 1, our legislative branch is Congress, and they are responsible for making laws. Article 2 is the executive branch, and that has the president and the vice president, and they are responsible for enforcing laws. And then Article 3 is all about the judicial branch, and that is the court system. And their function is to interpret laws and to determine if laws violate the Constitution or not. So we have 2 constitutional principles that we're looking at here when we look at the 3 branches of government. That first constitutional principle is the idea of separation of powers. And so instead of having one person, whether it's a dictator or a monarch, be able to make the laws and enforce them and to interpret and punish, we take each one of those powers and separate and give all 3 of those powers to a different group of people. We give lawmaking power to one group, we give enforcement to a different group of people, and then we give the interpretation and the punishment portion to a different branch. So separation of powers is taking those 3 powers and giving them to 3 different branches. And again, just like the importance of having a written constitution to limit the powers of a government, the reason we have separation of powers is to limit the powers of government to protect our freedoms and our liberties. The second principle that we can see here is the idea of checks and balances. So each branch of government has its own powers, but within the Constitution it has a series of multiple step processes that have to take place that involve either 2 of the branches or all 3 of them. And so the purpose for that, not allowing one branch to do and get away with anything, to have this idea where there are checks put in place so that we balance out the power. So each branch has the power to check the other branches to prevent one from getting too powerful. Again, why? To protect our freedoms, to protect our individual liberties. We are going to protect, or excuse me, we are going to limit the powers of each branch of government. Article 4 is about the relationship among the states. I don't want to go into much until later on when we start talking about the Articles of Confederation, but just know, they started out with 13 states. Today we have 50 states, and we need to know how they are going to work together and how they are going to cooperate, and the things that the national government is going to guarantee to the states. So all you need to know for right now is that Article 4 is about the relationship among the 50 states, how they work together. Article 5 is about amending. How do we make changes to the Constitution? And again, we'll go into more detail on all of that later. All right, Article 6 is national supremacy. It states that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And then it goes further, because we do have a national government, and then all the states have their own governments. And then you have local governments that make their own laws. So we need to put in place this idea of a ladder of supremacy, so that if ever we have different laws that conflict, whether it's local laws, state laws, national laws, we need to know as citizens who live in these places which laws that we are supposed to follow. So the ladder of supremacy shows that the United States Constitution is the supreme law of the land. It is the highest law, and nothing that governments do, whether it's national governments, state governments, local governments, nothing can violate the United States Constitution. Under that are federal laws and treaties. So federal laws are supreme over everything that falls underneath it, but they have to follow the Constitution. Then we have state constitutions, which have to, they can't, the state constitution can't violate federal laws, and those can't violate the United States Constitution. So then we have state laws and local laws. So you need to know all 5 of those in order, and understanding that any government that's higher up is the one that you have to follow. So local laws can't violate state laws can't violate state constitutions can't violate federal laws, and federal laws can't violate the United States Constitution. So having said that, that means nothing can violate the United States Constitution. Article 7 is about ratification, and ratification means formal approval process. It's really only one sentence long, and once they wrote out the whole entire Constitution, they had to send it off to the individual 13 states at that particular time, and each one of those 13 states had to formally approve that they wanted to be part of this new government and to be subject to the rules and the guidelines that were established under the Constitution. So whether it's a written Constitution, the idea of 3 separate branches of government, checks and balances, determining how states are going to work together, resolving conflicts between state and national government in the Supremacy Clause, and making sure that a supermajority of the states agreed before they were forced to follow this Constitution. All of these are designed, and this is very important, all of these are designed to limit the powers of the government that we have, and the purpose for that is to make sure that individuals who live in the United States, our freedoms and liberties are protected to the maximum degree that they can be.